Let me readjust my butt here. Now we have learned functions, some built-in ones. Ellipses, we learned background, fill, rectangle. We also learned how to create a variable and why we might want to create a variable. So now in this video, I'm going to show you how to animate your video, just very basically. And then I'll show you where to go to on Khan Academy to where you can get to the screen that I am on so you can start messing around with this. And your next assignment is going to be to design a scene and have it animated and show me so I can check off on it. Yes. Okay, so we're going to write our own function, but we're going to use a built-in function as well. So these are all built-in functions. They have their own parameters. So the background and the fill parameters are RGB values, a color. The ellipse and the rectangle, those were X position, Y position, width, and height. So all functions have their own little parameters. Now we're going to try and make our own using a built-in one. Let me show you. So there is a special function in JavaScript called the draw function. And we're going to learn a different way to do this later on, but for right now in Khan Academy, we're going to do it the easier way. If you type draw and hit equals, it will automatically set it equal to a function with open and close parentheses, and then open and close brackets with a semicolon at the end. And this is the correct function format right here. When you're making your own function, you say, hey, here's a function. This is what we're going to call it. Any parameters that we'd want to pass into it go in here. And then here's the actual code to execute. Now, what the draw function does is it runs your code over and over about 30, 40 times a second, and just keeps on doing that until you stop the program. So it will just do it over and over and over and over and over again until you decide to stop it. So notice nothing's happening, nothing's moving, and that's because I don't have anything inside this function. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move my scene. I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to paste it inside the function here. And now I'm just going to clean it up to where it looks better. Delete this randomness out here. And so I've put it inside my function. So what it's going to do is it's going to draw this stuff 30 times a second. And so why is nothing happening? Well, the reason why nothing's happening is this: it's working right now. It's drawing this scene 30 times a second. The problem is it's drawing in the exact same spot 30 times a second. We don't want that to happen. We want this to increase. We want it to draw it in one spot, then draw it a little bit over here, then draw it a little bit over here, then draw it a little bit over here, so on and so forth, to make it look like it's moving. That's what an animation is. It's a series of pictures played very, very quickly to where it looks to us like something is moving, just like a movie. A movie is actually just a bunch of pictures played very rapidly back to back to make you think that is moving. On your iPhone, you go to slow-mo mode. That's taking even more pictures. That's up to 240 frames a second. That's taking 240 pictures every 1 second, playing them to where it looks like it's moving. So how to get this thing to actually move? Well, it's keeping X the same every time. So here's what we can do to make it animate. At the bottom of our code, after it draws it once, what we want to happen is we want X to become a new number. We want it to become a little bit bigger than it was. So at the very bottom, we're going to take X. Remember, we declared X up here. We said it's going to be equal to 7. I'm going to take X at the bottom. I'm going to set it equal to itself. But remember, I want it to be a little bit bigger. So I'm going to say that X equals itself plus 1. And now, as you can see, the UFO moves across the screen. So what it's doing is it draws this entire thing, gets to the bottom, says, hey, x, you want that to be x plus 1? So now instead of 7, it's 8. And then it runs this again. And now instead of 8, it's 9. And then it runs it again. Instead of 9, it's 10, and so on and so forth. And it keeps running through that 30 times a second to where it looks like it's moving. So you might say, okay, well, that's a pretty slow UFO. Well, why don't you add a little more times per second? And now the UFO looks like it's moving faster because now it's jumping by 3 pixels every time it runs this. Again, it's doing it 30 to 40 times a second. So if I put 10 in here, well, this is just going to look like it's zooming now. So that UFO is just flying through there. And it's still going. It's just off of our screen here. Our screen on this is only 400 by 400 pixels, so it's gone somewhere way over there. So if I just click these buttons right here, reset, we can see it again. So you could also do the same thing with the Y values. So we can make another variable up here called Y and set it equal to something. And then we could go through and change all the Y values of the ellipses and the rectangles. And that would move it up and down. So maybe you want to try doing something like that. But then at the very end, we would have to set Y equals to itself plus or minus something. If we subtract it, we can move it the other direction. Don't forget your semicolons. All right, so you're going to try and make your own animation. It doesn't have to be a UFO scene. It could be any scene you want. You're going to try and make something or multiple things, if you can, move across the screen. So how do you get to where I am? You're going to log into Khan Academy, and it puts you in a different spot every time. Khan Academy is kind of weird like that. I don't know why. But all you got to do is up top, if you're not already there, hit the subjects thing to see all the subjects. We're not trying to learn about AP art history right now. So you will go to computing, and we're going to go to computer programming. Obviously, this is after you're logged in. And there we go. And we are doing Intro to JS Drawing and Animation. So we did HTML, CSS here, making web pages. Now we're moving on to Intro to JS Drawing and Animation. And what you're going to click to get started now, you'll go through all these later on, but right now, just so you can get working and having fun with this, you're going to click Drawing Basics. And then Make Drawings with Code. And this is outlined on your notes, but here's a video to show you how to do it. So now we don't want to play the video because we don't want to listen to what she says right now because we just want to start animating. Here's your environment. You can go ahead and start making some variables. Don't forget your semicolons at the end. You can start drawing some shapes, making your draw function, and seeing if you can get something to move. And once you have a scene and you got something moving or things moving up and down, left, right, whatever, show me so I can check off on it. And make sure you're having fun.